Welcome back. We're continuing our videos on the properties of real numbers. In our last video, we looked at our real number properties. We had commutative, associative, identity, inverse, closure, and distributive. They're all written out here. If you have any questions about them, make sure you go back and look at the last video on these properties. So I'm going to put them over to the right. For this, we're going to do an example, name the property. So here I have 2 times 3 in parentheses times 4 is equal to 2 times 3 times 4, where 3 and 4 are now in parentheses over here. So one way you can work through this is you can look at your nice table over here and see what it looks like. The first thing I see is there's only multiplication, so this is going to be multiplication properties. Remember the distributive property, it's not the distributive property of addition or multiplication, it's just the distributive property. So that's a little bit different. But I see we've got multiplication, so I'm kind of looking in this column. But if I don't have this in front of me and I'm just kind of dealing with the names, I want to remember my tricks. Commutative is when things move position. Nothing in this problem is moving. The order stays the same. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So this is not commutative. Associative has to do with grouping. In the left side, we've got 2 and 3 grouped, and on the right side, we have 3 and 4 grouped. So this one's actually going to deal with grouping. So this is the associative property of multiplication. So that one's the associative property of multiplication. It's important that we remember to not only write the associative, but also the multiplication. In our next problem, we've got addition, so this is going to be a property of addition. 5 plus 1 is equal to 1 plus 5. The ordering has changed, so it's going to be commutative. Things have physically moved. 5 was first, and then 1, now 1 is first, and then 5. So this is going to be the commutative property of addition. In our next step, we've got grouping, which sometimes might lead me to associative. We have addition, and we have multiplication. That indicates to me that it's going to be distributive, because distributive has multiplication and addition. So we've got 4 times the quantity x plus 2 is equal to 4x plus 8. And what's happened here is that 4 has been distributed in to each of the terms inside. So this is the distributive property. If this had been written the other way, if this had been written 4x plus 8 is equal to 4 times the quantity x plus 2, it also would have been the distributive property. For this next case, I have multiplication, so we're looking at the multiplication column. But I have 1/3 times 3x is equal to x. So I've got multiplication, and what happened is this 3 went away. 3 was multiplied by what was necessary to get rid of 3. 3 was multiplied by 1/3. 1/3 is called the multiplicative inverse of 3. Because this went away, this is going to be the inverse. Inverse property of multiplication. When something disappears through multiplication, it's really kind of an invisible 1. When something goes away through multiplication, it's going to be inverse.